The South African employment rate took a bit of a tumble this year, but some areas in agriculture performed surprisingly well. Professor Ferdi Meyer from BFAP sheds some light on this topic. Dan ontmoet ons vir Henri Beyleveldt, die wenner van vanjaar se Toyota SA Nasionale Jong Afslaerskompetisie. Vir nou, oor na lese vir die nuus, maar bly ingeskakel.
In today's news, Tabi Nkosi has been appointed as the new non-executive chairperson of the Land Bank. Cabinet endorsed this position last week. According to a press release by AgBiz, Nkosi is a respected agricultural economist with diverse and extensive experience in agribusiness, agricultural policy making, and agribusiness operations. She has worked in numerous positions in the field, both in private and public sector. She currently serves as an independent non-executive trustee for the National Empowerment Fund, amongst others. And Cecily Doorwaard is the latest recipient of the International Society for the Study of Rural Crime Award. This award is given to a research student for a sole-authored piece of writing that is associated with their research in rural criminology. Cecily, a student of UNISA, undertook a research study on stock theft criminals in South Africa in 2013. According to the awards panel, her research stood out because of its novelty, depth of insight, and significant contribution to the field of rural criminology. Her study explored, described, and explained the criminal behavior associated with livestock theft. En 'n interessante wynmaakproses het aan Nui Wynkelders 'n gesogte toekenning besorg toe sy Mastery Sauvignon Blanc 2021 onlangs 'n goue medalje tydens die Veritas toekennings gewen het. Die wynmaakspan het afgewyk van die tradisionele wynmaakmetode en het die Sauvignon Blanc sap vir 3 maande teen -15°C gevries. Die wyn het sy normale fermentasieproses gevolg nadat dit ontvries is. Volgens die wynmaker het die 3 maande tydperk waar tydens die sap teen hierdie lae temperatuur geberg is, bygedra tot die kompleksiteit van die wyn. En dit is dan vandag se nuus. The current unemployment rate in South Africa is 34.9%, which is an overall tumble this year. But what is agriculture like? And that's what we are focusing on at the moment with Professor Ferdi Meyer from BFAP. You need no introduction, Ferdi, but welcome to Farm or Plaas TV.
Thanks very much.
Right, yeah. As I said in my introduction, the overall employment rate is currently at 34.9%, not good news. What would the reason be for this?
It's really a combination of factors. I think we are seeing, obviously, the lockdown and COVID had a huge impact on the economy. We've seen a lot of that happening. In South Africa, however, where we see, contrary to other countries in the rest of the world, where we do see a faster recovery, in South Africa, I do think that we're getting really the combination now of service delivery as an issue, electricity, water supplies, infrastructure that hasn't been maintained, and that's generally starting to impact investments and the speed of investments in companies and taking the foot off the pedal, and which makes the recovery slower, and obviously job creation, the jobs that are shed are not taken back easily. That in combination with, in general, just a weaker economy, consumers not having money to really afford food, and then obviously the rioting, it's also a major concern. So we're really having a combination of factors that are currently not conducive for faster investments And that's really what's critical. Is our president talks about that a lot, is creating this enabling environment where we really foster investments, because that's the only way that we can grow is faster investment.
On the other side, a little bit more positive, is agricultural employment. What happened this year?
Yeah, absolutely. We always love to talk about agriculture and agro-processing. We've had a fantastic year in agriculture. It's really been the shining light. Last year, we already had that heading in our baseline, agriculture being the shining light, growing at 13.1%. It's the only sector in the economy that grew, and it grew fast. And this year, we're projecting another growth in real terms of 7.6% on top of the 13.1%. So the agriculture is really performing well, and the combination for that is really fantastic climate. So we had good rainfall, good planting conditions, we had good summer crops, and then the combination of higher global prices. We all see those prices, they're skyrocketed. Some of those prices, oilseeds, for example, are literally double what they used to be a year ago, or 2 years ago. We had very good prices and weaker exchange rate. So that combination, and we really managed to get our fruits out into the export market. There was a big demand, for example, due to COVID on citrus, and these labor-intensive industries really kick-started and fired up the agriculture employment sector, and we could actually manage to really grow employment, not by much, but taking into consideration where the rest of the economy lies. And this quarter 2 or quarter 3 now, where the jobs have dropped a little bit, that's just an anomaly. It's typically the cyclical movements. We don't harvest a lot in the quarter 3, so I don't read too much also into GDP numbers of quarter 3. We understand agriculture, the biological cycles. We want to look at the total year.
I want to get back to the exports. That's in spite of the problems we had at the harbours and transport.
Yeah, that's a good question. I mean, this is I regard this as a miracle that we got those record volumes out. There were big bottlenecks, but they're getting bigger. That's our biggest concern. Currently, there are still a number of disputes, and the ports are really congested. But I have to say, last year, we worked very closely with the industry, with government on this command center. And really there was good collaboration between public sector and private sector to get all these produce out. And there was good coordination. And it just goes to show that effort does pay off. So I think we must not lose faith. I think we must go for it and really concentrate and focus on these public-private partnerships.
Let's get back to the employment and underline. So what is the agricultural sector's contribution to employment in South Africa?
Yeah, so it's about 8%.
Right.
If we just go in ballpark, agriculture contributes, we have about, let's say, between 830,000 and 850,000 employees in agriculture, forestry and fisheries. So that's 8.5. Now, just take into consideration, this sector contributes only 2.5% to the economy, but its employment contributions 8. So it is a labor-intensive industry. And that's why in the times when we wrote that NDP chapter, there's just so much potential for the sector and to really the importance of the sector in employment. But it needs to be nurtured.
Right. There was an increase in skilled agricultural employment. What's the reason for that?
Yeah, that's a very interesting trend. And again, I think these are positive signals. If you really unpack skills and also the overall this workplace, like training, contribution to UIF, contribution to pension funds, if you really go and look at the labor stats and you unpack that, agriculture has done a phenomenal job. The contributions to all of these supporting mechanisms for laborers has really increased. In some of the instances, we've doubled. I know the percentage, for example, for contribution to pension funds for agriculture workers has increased by 76% over the last decade. If you take into consideration wages have increased by 11.9% on average each year for farm workers. So that's fast. That's much faster than the inflation rate. So I think agriculture is really trying to contribute as much as it can to the employment space, to minimum wages, to the beyond minimum wages, this whole space for a decent work, good working conditions. And that includes upskilling. because that's probably that's our biggest challenge and question is mechanization. Are we going to lose jobs?
Everybody thought so,
correct.
Actually.
Yeah. So the trick is, to what extent can we upskill our workers with the new mechanization and actually grow with the same, at least maintain the jobs, because the natural environment, and if we look internationally, the natural trend is mechanization is driving out jobs. So the important part is to upskill your work. That's what you want to do. You create higher wages, more skilled jobs with better equipment, and you actually pull farmers off the farm. It sounds that you pull the labor literally, and that's actually what agriculture or the economic transformation wants. We don't want to pay minimum wages, we want to pay more.
Of course.
But you need that productivity gain, and we see those productivity gains through the mechanization.
Well, there we have it. Positive news for employment in agriculture in South Africa. Ferdi, thank you very much for joining us.
Thanks very much.
Professor Ferdi Meyer from BFAP.
Goeiemôre kykers, grane en oliesade vir lewering in Maart 2022 het die afgelope week so 'n bietjie gemengde welslae getoon op die JSE kommoditeitsmark. Wit en geel mielies het goeie prysstygings getoon van onderskeidelik 1.4 en 2.6%, terwyl die koringprys met 2.5% gedaal het. Sonneblomprys wat verlede week bietjie afgekom het, is weer 0.9% op, terwyl sojabone met 0.3% af is in prys. Die olieprys het week op week met 6.8% gestyg, en dit is nadat die meeste vrese oor die nuwe COVID-19 variant besweer is en internasionale reis weer begin oopmaak het. Die rand het goed gevaar teenoor die vernaamste geldeenhede, onveranderd gebly teenoor die dollar, 0.6% verstewig teenoor die pond en 0.4% verstewig teenoor die euro.
Ek verwelkom graag vandag die 2021 Toyota SA Nasionale Jong Afslaer van die jaar. Vir die wat nie weet nie, hy is daar van Limpopo, van Bella se omgewing, en sy naam is Henri Beyleveldt. Henri, welkom.
Baie dankie.
En baie geluk.
Dis reg, baie dankie.
Ons was so opgewonde toe ons daai uitslae moes bekend maak. Baie geluk. Hoe lank neem jy al aan hierdie spesifieke kompetisie deel?
Nou 3 jaar.
3 jaar.
3 jaar, ja.
Wow. En wat het jy van jaar tot jaar by die kompetisie geleer? Want dit is mos maar 'n paadjie wat jy stap.
Ja, die beste ding wat ek geleer het is maar om altyd, want elke jaar dan gaan deel jy neem en dan kom jy nou tweede of laaste of wat ook al so aanhouer wen. En dan leer dit jou ook bietjie om uit jou ongemaklike sone uit te kom, om bietjie in 'n ander rigting in te gaan. Ja. Ja, want ons werk gewoonlik met 'n verhoog en alles, en daar's nie 'n verhoog nie, so ja.
En hoe het die kompetisie jou gehelp om jou loopbaan as afslaer te begin?
Jong, dit is moeilik, maar dit maak deure vir jou oop as jong afslaers. En dan dink ek soos die bemarkers in die afslaerbedryf, so dit sal jou meer raak sien omrede jy nou bietjie al ondervinding volgens hulle het, ja.
So jy is nou 'n afslaer, 'n volwaardige afslaer.
Ja.
Waar?
By Andre Koggensens Limpopo.
Ja. En hoe ervaar jy dit? Lekker. Is dit wat jy wil doen?
Ja, dit is 'n baie lekker bedryf.
Ja. Wat is 'n goeie afslaer? Wat maak 'n goeie afslaer?
'n Goeie afslaer, wat jou 'n goeie afslaer maak, is jy moet jou mark ken. Jy moet jou mark ken, so jy moet weet wat jy opveil, wanneer jy dit opveil, en jy moet weet wat sy waarde. Die ander ding is die verhouding tussen jou en die kliënt as afslaer en sy kliënt, en ook die verhouding met sy bemarkers. Dit maak jou 'n goeie afslaer.
En die manier hoe jy dit doen, maak dit nie ook verskil?
Ja, jy moet professioneel wees, ja.
Bietjie tegniek.
Tegniek ook, ja.
So waar vertel vir my, verduidelik vir my, wat is goeie afslaerstegniek?
Tegniek is, soos wat ek vir jou gesê het, is jy moet met jou kliënte kan werk,
Ja.
so jou kopers, vir al jou kopers, so jy moet hom kan opsite en vir hom sê, kom, geval nog 'n bietjie daai ekstra R50 uit, of daai ekstra, en dan jou verkoper moet jy nou kan oortuig dat dit 'n goeie prys is, as dit 'n goeie prys is en alles, so ja.
Jou stem en jou oë kontak, is daar 'n geheim?
Daar is, ja, jy moet jou stem optrek as jy nou as jy nou soos die kliënt nader trek en jou oogkontak moet daar wees en alles, ja. Jy moet met hom praat met jou oë.
Jou beginjare, was dit maar iets moeiliks geweest. Waar het jy geleer?
Ek het by South African College of Auctioneering geleer. En ja, dit was maar moeilik geweest want elke afslaer dink dit gaan oor vinniger jy praat aan die begin. Maar na tyd dan kom jy agter, dit gaan nie daaroor, dit gaan net eintlik oor om die beeste of die bokkenskape te skuif. So dit is eintlik maar waar.
Nou jy en die vorige wenners, ons het vir Henny en vir JP, gaan volgende jaar hopelik by Calgary deelneem. Hoe dink jy vergelyk ons afslaers met die van ander lande?
Ek dink, veral as jy nou kyk na Calgary en veral Texas en daai ander wêreld ook, net hulle afslaerseleksie is bietjie hoër as ons afslaers, want ek dink hulle het bietjie meer ondervinding as ons. By ons is dit maar, ek meen die vroeë jare en dit was dit, jy het geleer opvuil en jy het afslaer geword, nou is dit al bietjie kursus loop en dit, so, ja, ek dink hulle is bietjie hoër as ons.
Ja. Nou, ons gaan nou vir Henri vra om vir ons 'n denkbeeldige skaap of bok of bees op te vuil. Wat het jy gekies?
'n bees.
'n bees?
Ja.
Nou, toe staan op, kry jouself reg, dat ons kan hoor.
Ok, so op lot nommer 1 gaan ek vir julle Bonsmara koei verkoop, is 'n baie mooi koei. En ons sê sommer dit is 'n slagkoei, so sy is baie vet en dan gaan ons sê, right meneer, kom ons gaan gentlemen, tiger away daar die koetjie, 450, 450 kilos, let's go. 10,000 en nagere 10,000 en 250 nagere 5 en nagere 10,5, nou 750, 11,000, 11,000 rand en nagere 11,000, selling 11,000, allemaal 11,000, 11,000, allemaal klaar, allemaal uit, all out en dan 11,000 rand, 11,000 rand.
Dit was redelik goedkoop.
Ja, ons moes maar 'n slagkoei wees kommersieel.
Nou ja, Henri, baie dankie, baie sterkte en ek hoop regtig jy en jou vorige medewenners kom volgende jaar uit waar jy eintlik wil wees.
Dis reg, baie dankie.
So sê Henri Beyleveldt, hy is vanjaar aangewys as die 2021 Toyota SA Nasionale Jong afslaer van die jaar.
Mirawe sneeu. Sien die verskil.